Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What an introduction from all. Добрый вечер.
Добрый вечер.
Yes, my name is Lukas Kandowa, as mentioned by Paul, and it is indeed a privilege for me to be here tonight to present to you about a very interesting topic, understanding the Namibian upstream sector and NAMCOR's perspective. This is very important because if you remember from the previous speakers, they were highlighting how the discoveries have the potential to significantly change the economic landscape of our country. In this presentation, so I aim to introduce you to the upstream sector. I will be talking about the key players in this special sector, the challenges and the opportunities that are existing in this sector. So what is upstream sector? If you remember very well, Mr. Newman spoke about how the oil and gas industry is divided into three segments. He spoke about upstream, midstream, and downstream. So he spoke more, he was focusing more on midstream and downstream. So upstream is one of the segments of the oil and gas industry. And this one, it's one of the first, let me say it's the first maybe let me call the early segment of the oil and gas sector. One of the factors that are used to determine whether an upstream sector in a particular country is mature or is growing is the number of drilling rigs. As we speak today, we have about 4 drilling rigs that are actively conducting drilling activities in Namibia. We are also expecting a 5th rig that will be arriving in Namibia before end of the year. So the upstream sector is divided into different phases. One, licensing, exploration, appraisal, development, production, and abandonment. So during licensing, an agreement between the government and the operator is signed, and that means a right to conduct exploration activities is given to an operator. And if those appraisal activities are successful, they result in what we call a discovery. A discovery is what was announced last year by Shell and Total. And after a discovery is announced, it's up to the operator to go to the next stage that we call appraisal, or the next phase. And during appraisal phase, we are trying to determine the commerciality of that particular discovery. Also, during appraisal, we are also trying to understand the extent of the reservoir as well as the volumes of that discovery. During appraisal, or at the end of appraisal, a document that is called an FTP is submitted to the Ministry of Mines and Energy. FDP stands for Field Development Plan, and it outlines how the company is going to develop that discovery. So that now takes us to the next phase that we call development. And during development, we are trying to set up different, or looking at different options so that we can best develop that discovery based on the commercial result of the appraisal. So during development, we also usually speak about first oil. And this first oil is a sort of a stage that allows us to move to the next phase that we call production. During production, we are allowing the crude to flow from the reservoir to the surface facilities. Production usually takes about, let me say, I think, even based on the presentation of Deni, he spoke about 20 to 40 years. And during this time, you are producing the crude oil. As you produce the crude oil, you also have the opportunity to store that crude on the production platform for a limited time. And then after that, you enter into a contract with a transportation company that will be transporting your crude from the production facility to the refinery. So at the end of production, we are required by the government to make sure that we restore that environment, that production environment, back to its original state. So that now leads us to the next phase that we call abandonment. And after abandonment, we come to the expiry of a license. During these different phases of the upstream sector, two types of licenses are issued. The petroleum exploration license during that first phase of licensing, and before the development, another license is issued. This license we call it production license. Just to give more details about licensing. Licensing itself involves the activities to offer the right to manage an area that we call a block. And this area is expected to contain oil and gas deposits. Licensing is done by the Ministry of Mines and Energy. NAMCOR does not give licenses. So you can see on this slide, we have divided the map of Namibia into a number of blocks, and each block represents an area where a license can be issued. So those blocks that are highlighted in different colors represent the licenses which were issued so far by the Minister of Mines and Energy to different companies. So the reason why we have them in different colors is just to indicate that they were given to different companies, just to differentiate that. And those blocks that are sort of highlighted with diagonal lines, these ones, this is just to indicate that those areas are under or some, or let me say, the applications for exploration have been submitted and they are under progress. So that means the licenses for those blocks have not been issued yet. On this slide, we are trying to show you that in 97% of the issued licenses, NAMCOR has an average of 10% interest. And you can see that the blocks in yellow, those are the blocks where NAMCOR has got an average of 10% interest. And the blocks in orange, these are the blocks where NAMCOR has a majority participation interest. You can see that in petroleum exploration license 67, 72, and 79, NAMCOR has a participation interest of 67%, and in license number 85, NAMCOR has 30%. So the next stage or the next phase of the upstream sector is what we call exploration phase, and this phase is all about the activities to search for oil and gas deposit in the reservoir beneath the Earth's surface within the block's boundary. So exploration is mainly about data acquisition. That is why I have this diagram here, or this picture. So it is showing that it's basically trying to show you how data is acquired. So we have a survey sheet that is acquiring data. And how does that happen? The sheet has got what we call an air gun, and that air gun generates sound waves. Those sound waves are sent through the water column, and then the waves goes through the different rock formations. As the waves go through those different rock formations, due to the different densities of the rock formation, some of the waves are reflected back to surface. And then when those waves get to surface, they are recorded by what we call, or they are received by what we call hydrophones. At the end of this process, this data goes through what we call processing. And then at the end of processing, you get an image like this one. So this image, survey yesterday spoke about it. So it's an image that you get, and you give it to a group of geoscientists to interpret and try to find a deposit of a potential deposit of oil and gas. So once that is done, the project is handed over to drilling engineers, and the engineers they go and try to find a most suitable drilling rig in order to penetrate and test whether that potential deposit really contains oil or gas. So as you can see in the diagram here, we have a potential deposit here, then we have something that is preventing whatever is contained in here, could be oil or gas, and we need to have something that is protecting it from escaping. So that is just a diagram to show you how oil can be contained in the rock. So moving on, during exploration, the next phase or in the sector, we have different types of data that we acquire or that is acquired, and this data we have it at NAMCOR. So if you look at this map right here, this shows the type of the 2D data that we have at NAMCOR. And this data is acquired either by operator or through what we call a multi-client data acquisition arrangement. And next to this, we have 3D data, so indicated here in these geometric figures in different colors. So this data we also have it at NAMCOR, and it is available for public to view as long as it's not what we call proprietary. That means it's not confidential, because the data is confidential if it is acquired within, or it is confidential within the first 5 years. Next to that, we have a table showing the total number of wells that we have, because we also have well data at NAMCOR. So we have a total number of 36 wells, and 26 of those are exploration wells, and 11 are appraisal wells. Like I said earlier, appraisal is all about the activities to define the oil and gas volume more precisely after a discovery. How do we conduct appraisal? What happens is this: you either drill a new well or enter an existing well. So you use those pipes that are called, which we call drilling pipes, and you join them one after the other, and then you put those pipes in a hole. I will show you a schematic later. But what you want to do is to flow the fluid or the oil from the well, and then you bring it to surface. And in that process, you try to analyze the behavior of pressure and rates. And that can give you an indication of how dynamic properties of the reservoirs are behaving during that short period of production. So we need to understand the dynamic properties of the reservoir, because they help us to determine that commerciality element. And that commerciality element allows us to move to the next phase, to the phase that we call development. So this is what is happening currently in Namibia, and this is exactly the rig that we are using to conduct vessel activities in Namibia. So we move on to the next phase of the upstream sector, the phase of the coal development. And on this slide, I want to draw your attention to this schematic. So this is a development concept that was submitted by government by Talo Oil in 2014, if I'm not wrong. So it shows how the company plans to develop a discovery. So they were proposing that, okay, they were going to drill 3 wells, and from those 3 wells, 1 well here, second one, and the third one here, they are going now to collect the gas through these flow lines. And the flow lines takes the gas to a floating production facility. In the facility, the gas is treated, and then after that, it is transported via pipelines to the power station, where electricity is going to be generated. This is exactly the same concept that is being proposed by BW Kudu, the company that is operating the Kudu production license. Production, we are currently not producing any oil or gas in Namibia right now. But production, just to give you a snapshot, is all about the activities to extract and process and export the oil and gas as a contract agreement. So you can see in this picture that we have a production vessel, and that production vessel is connected to the wells, like I said earlier. And the most important part is that you need to have a vessel, a smaller vessel like this, that comes from time to time to collect or offload the oil from production facility. So after production, I spoke about abandonment phase. Abandonment is the process of isolating the production zones and restoring the environment to its original state. So how do we do this? We use what we call cement plugs, when we put a number of them in the well. So the idea is basically just to make sure that there's no escaping of oil or gas from the well to the environment. It's all during abandonment. We also remove surface facilities, like what I showed in the earlier slide, the wellheads and some of those flow lines at the bottom of the sea. So that was the introduction. We are going to move to the key players in the sector. In this section, I just want you to sort of understand who is the key players, who is the referee, who is the goalkeeper, who is the defender, the striker, who is best. You want to know who is what in this. So, of course, we want to see NAMCOR being described. That is our wish. The government of the Republic of Namibia is the regulator of the sector, and they try to do this in the best interest of the country. We have the national oil company, NAMCOR, and our role is to participate in the sector activities on behalf of government. We have international oil and gas or energy companies, the likes of Total Energies, ExxonMobil, Gulf, BW, and their role is to operate the licenses by planning and executing the agreed work programs and budgets. We also have another key player, service companies. Ramona spoke about this, like the likes of Schlumberger, Halliburton, Weatherford, and their role is to basically offer various services, including data acquisition, training, and many others. Most importantly, we also have local people and companies, local companies, the West Air, like Ramona mentioned. Their role is to offer, for example, local people, their role is to offer manpower to the industry, or workforce to the industry, and also provide transportation, customs clearing, and many other services. So what are the challenges faced by the sector? Like any other sector, the upstream sector is facing a number of challenges. And I put this picture here just to show that it is important that we understand the complexity of challenges in different industries. But in the oil and gas industry, or the upstream sector to be specific, it's important that we work together to solve these challenges. One of the challenges is the oil price fluctuation, which can significantly impact the profitability of an oil and gas project. Oil and gas projects, they usually have a range of oil price within which the project is profitable. But once the oil price goes below that, the project becomes unprofitable, and you see that a lot of companies they were abandoning different projects when the oil price was low. Another challenge that we have is infrastructural development. As you know that we don't have pipelines, we don't have enough storage facilities, we don't even have a port that is capable of serving the upstream sector. So these infrastructures are very capital intensive and require time to establish. The minister yesterday spoke about geopolitical and security risks, and this is a challenge that we face in the sector because it has the capacity to disrupt operations that are related to oil and gas. Local content and workforce development. We need to develop skilled people, either through vocational trainings or by training people at institutions like NAST or UNAM, because this can result in companies trying to import people from outside those people that we call expatriates. So we need to do something about that because it's posing a very serious challenge to the sector. Financing, we have small oil and gas companies, exploration companies, but because financial institutions do not finance oil and gas projects, these companies are not able to execute their work programs, and they end up even risking losing their licenses. So what are the opportunities in the sector? So we look at the opportunities through NAMCOR's view, and we are saying that infrastructure development, there is an opportunity for companies to set up pipelines, storage facilities, and the expansion of the port. We need companies